So, good morning, everyone. Today, I have the honor to be with one of the vice presidents of the European Parliament, Mr. Martin Hojsík. Thank you for your time, Mr. Hojsík. He is a member of the Renew Europe political group, and today we'll discover what a vice president does and why this role is so important for the functioning of the European Parliament. So the first question that I want to ask is, what is the role of the Vice President, and what does a typical working day look like for you here in the Parliament?
Thank you, and first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Now, Vice Presidency is something that the member does next to his, so to say, or her full-time job of a normal member. So I still work on legislation. I'm here to actually try to help to address the environmental crisis that we face, to really help to make sure that the young people, that everybody actually has a decent future in which they can have a house, in which they can actually afford living, but above all, in which they have a planet that's still livable, because that's a real danger. Now, the Vice Presidency is next to that, although it's almost a full-time job as well. Officially, the job is specified in the rules of procedure of the Parliament, but to put it in a normal human and not boring legal language, one part is, of course, during the plenary, it's the running and the chairing of the sessions. This is something what we share and basically have a shift in which we chair. Besides that, each of the vice president, and you can see it on the website next to our profiles, basically you can see what are the individual responsibilities. We have portfolios. My portfolio includes things like fundamental rights and rule of law, the citizens' language and multilingualism working group chairmanship, the relationship with Asia, with the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, but as well as work on the artificial intelligence, work on and membership in the ITEC working group, but also something which is not so visible, like the membership in the internal audit panel of the Parliament. So it's a wide range of duties that come with such a post.
So this is the reason why there are 14 vice presidents of the European Parliament. And so I want to ask you, how do you share your responsibilities among each other? How do you choose your topics, how to say?
Well, and you mentioned that it's 14 of us, which looks like a lot, but if you look at the 720 members, I counted it in comparison to Slovak Parliament, and actually there is fewer vice presidents here in the European Parliament per member than in my home country's national parliament in Slovakia. Now, the division of tasks is something that it's done when we are elected vice presidents. First of all, the president is elected, and then vice president and quaestors, and together we form so-called bureau. That's another part of the job. All of us are actually helping to run the parliament as an institution. Now, and at the start of the mandate as a vice president, the president sits down, discusses with all the different vice presidents what are the interests, and ultimately at the end of it, she is deciding about the different individual portfolios after consultation, respecting the political diversity. So there are different political groups represented in each of the working groups, also reflecting the gender, the regional balance, so kind of trying to get it in the right puzzle, and of course what are the individual preferences and interests, and above all the capabilities and skills of the vice president.
Okay, you mentioned the political side of this aspect. So, and we know that Renew Europe is a pro-European, forward-looking political party. So I want to ask you, Does this vision influence your work as vice president?
Of course, but what is important, and for example, especially when you're chairing, the most important thing is you have to be fair, you have to uphold the rules of procedures and treaties, and you have to treat all the members equally. That's something which I think actually it comes from the very political foundation of my group, because this is the attitude of liberal democracy that we foster. So, and that's something which makes it say easier for me. Now, maybe also because the FOWLK and my interest, I'm involved in the rule of law and fundamental rights, but also in the work on areas like AI, because these are something, both things are really fundamentally important for our future.
Okay, thank you. And so, in this context, is it difficult to balance the diverse political voices inside of the European Parliament and inside of the group of the vice presidents of the European Parliament?
The vice president, the bureau of the parliament, is as opposed to conference of the presidents, where the presidents of the individual political groups sit. They are working more on the political side of work. We are working more on the functioning of the parliament as an institution. So, in terms of balancing the different political views, it's more the work of the conference of the presidents. Within the bureau, I would say generally we are very collegial in trying to work out things, because our job is not to advance our individual political views, but to try to make sure that this house works properly and that it's improving and answering to the expectations of the citizens, that we work in the best possible way as an institution, that we fulfill our duties.
Okay, thank you so much. And yeah, I am from my own experience. I think many young people don't know much about the European Union and how do they affect their lives. So I want to ask you in this context, how can the Parliament and the European institutions can get closer to the younger citizens that feel sometimes disconnected from the European Union politics?
Well, we're trying that, and that is actually, I would like to ask the viewers to tell us great ideas. Feel free to contact me on email, on social media, and tell me where do you think and what concrete activities Parliament could try to do to be closer to you. We have a number of programs. We have Euroscola. Just last week I was meeting, there was a Euroscola assembly here in Strasbourg. I was attending it, sadly virtually, I had to be in Brussels, but there were hundreds of students from across Europe here in Strasbourg and several thousands online connected. And I debated with them in the plenary and also there separately with the Slovak group. There is a European Ambassador School program. There's a number of different programs that the Parliament does as an institution to increase outreach to the young people, to involve them, to be able to also get them better expressed. What I'm doing also is trying to push initiatives that are kind of involving more young people in the concrete policy areas. There is now ongoing Young Pollinator Assembly. That actually is an activity that I stand behind as an initiator, and I managed to get the European Parliament to have projects on protection of bees and other pollinators. And one of the projects, and it's been executed by the Commission, is this Young Pollinator Assembly, where people from all the European member states, young people from all the European member states, in a kind of representative manner, are meeting to provide input on how we can better protect pollinators, because without them, well, we will not have future. This is something where we need to really step up. So there are lots of initiatives, but as I said, I can say, oh, we do a lot, but clearly there is never enough. So please let me know what can we do better.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Hojsík, and thank you so much for your valuable insights.
Thank you. It
Thank
was
you
a
so much.
pleasure.